Hello, everyone. I'll start off the welcome if Kirsten would not like to.
Oh. Sorry, Nick. My internet's wonky today, you guys, too. So if I go in and out, that's why. Welcome, everyone. I'm here today with my co-host, Verdis DeMosays, and these wonderful guys. Yay. Alpine, of course, and Kaspa and Gary from the Quantum Bridge. And I would encourage you right now, since I'm thinking about it, to follow Al on YouTube. His information is below. And also the Quantum Bridge guys, their information is below in the description. So if you haven't checked out their channels, please do, because they're awesome. Yay.
Truly are.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Verdis DeMosays here, because I'm losing my internet anyway, so let's go.
Well, I just want to say what a privilege it is to be with four of my other favorite people in this world. I mean, I love the work the Quantum Bridge guys do. Al's one of my favorite philosophers, and Kirsten is an absolute well of love and knowledge. So it's a real pleasure to be on today. And look forward to the conversations wherever they may happen to go.
All right. Well, so we were talking about this the other day. We're stepping into a new earth, and I think a lot of us can really identify the problems that we've got facing us, which is pretty much everything. I mean,
ever so slightly. It's definitely been
Herculean.
An era of new perspectives, I think.
Yeah. Yes. So, what do y'all think? What do we need to do at this point? Because I think a lot of people are really wondering, how do we change?
Well,
let's look at practical stuff too. So, practical stuff. What can we do?
The practical is almost the challenge, because so many people enjoy talking about the theoretical, but when it comes right down to it, how do you bring the theoretical into reality? And that's honestly why all of you are such inspirations to me, because refining from the theoretical of what should work and applying it to what does is something that I've seen, well, a fair bit of late, and I'm sure nobody's unfamiliar with the chaos in the world at the moment. Everyone's arguing about regulations and policies and what should be done. But there seems to be a lack of understanding with why these things are done, the principles behind it. Why do we have certain laws in certain societies? Well, is it for the sake of the culture? Well, what's the culture? How do we define this? And then how can we make our daily existences and rules actually fit the cultural systems we work in? And, especially with as much as he's traveled, I'm sure Al can provide some insight on that, having seen so much of the world. But it's a question that has really been on my mind lately.
Well, with questions like this, I feel like I'm not the best person to ask, because my attitude is, the older I've got, the more my attitude has become more kind of, definitely focused around the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So the minute we start saying, no, we should be doing this and we should be doing that and we should be doing it this way, and we might actually have the best intentions, but somewhere between the actual dreaming up of these intentions or the implementation of them, something always seems to go wrong. Now that in itself is probably something worth unpacking, Why does it go? Why does it go wrong? Why is the road to hell paved with good intentions? Why is that so true? I mean, even like the people that I disagree with the most, you might talk about the woke types and things. Their whole spiel is based on good intentions, isn't it? Oh, we want to be fair to everyone, things like that. Or just at least. If you want to talk about communist manifestos and things like that, the way it's sold to us as if it's like, oh, this is going to be great for everyone, but it never actually works out that way, does it? And so I don't know, maybe it's my inner anarchist coming out here, but I think for me, probably I would err personally on the side of more of a kind of, like having a bit of a kind of a faith aspect to it. Like if we just stop interfering so much, that might be a start. If we just stop thinking that, everything is so broken and nature is broken and we need to fix, that's what occurs to me anyway.
Yeah, I've had some
I
similar
agree with
thoughts like that with our.
There, I really do.
It took me a minute to remember. I should have brought some notes, but like we discussed online. But no, I thought about if I did have the means or the funds to help, say with like community projects and things, how much would I get involved? And like I saw a little thing. I went to like a village fete where they're raising money for the church roof to repair that. I thought, what if I could just say, "It's fine, I'll pay for it." It would be, I'd feel good about that I've done something. But that then makes that whole village fete not required, and then you take that away. So I mean, I think about things like this, but already. So
it's like you're giving them the church roof, but you're taking away an element of the community as well.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and all that, the people coming out and having fun and enjoying the games and the rides, and that they are also active participants in the community rather than coming along and just fixing everything. So then I thought, okay, well, even if I could, then maybe there's a better ways to do that. Maybe you would say something like, look, if you raise, £500 and I'll put the rest, I'll pay them something, I'll match it or something to encourage others to give and get involved. So it's like that. I've thought that about those types of things that sometimes even if you could do something, maybe it's not always the best. And if we extrapolate that out to the collective, it's, I feel maybe we're getting a little bit of help, but of course a lot of that does need to come from us. It can't just be someone in charge, just, well, here you go, I fixed it all for you. It's not necessarily a good thing. We at least need to feel that we have played a role in that process, that we stood up, or even if it's all make-believe, or that we were encouraged to get involved and play an active role in the change in the world. So, that's my view on this particular thing, anyway.
I think there is an element of human nature that enjoys that too, of being part of something. I mean, we see that on such a regular basis with elections, where people come out and they campaign and they vote and they cheer when their guy gets in or boo when he doesn't. But fundamentally, especially in this day and age, the election is essentially meaningless, but yet people still feel that desire to be part of something bigger, which is something that really has been taken away in this world. That there's no push for people to step up and do in most parts of the world. Like, I grew up in rural Arkansas, a 4-hour drive to an actual interstate. Nobody around, small town, 1,800 people was the closest one, 8 miles away. And we had a massive ice storm up there. We got about 4 inches of ice, which puts the power lines about as big around as a loaf of bread. And we were out of power for 2 weeks at our house. The nearby town was out for 9 days. It took me 4 just to get out to the highway. And when I went in town, of course, nobody has power. Go by the hardware store. They're up and running with lanterns and candles. Pen and paper. They're writing down UPCs, price, how many were bought, balancing the books that way. Yep, we're open. You need chainsaw oil? Like everybody else? Go to the grocery store. They have a banner up in front. Yes, we are open. They were doing the same thing. People need food. People need parts. People need things. They made it happen. The whole community did fine. The FEMA inspectors showed up, and essentially the community told them, bye, we don't want you. We've got this. And that attitude is what really built our civilization. But you look at the modern world based on Rousseau's philosophies of the natural man, the natural state, and abandoning all that to government. Well, it's not encouraged. It's not rewarded. In some places, it's actually been punished. And is it any wonder that everyone's disconnected and not participating when human nature is see a need, fill it, but yet we're being told through the modern philosophies that there's no point to that. Just let somebody else take care of it. You know, it feels like we're moving into, to your point about the church fete, people want to contribute. And that gives them the opportunity to. The modern rational philosophies, though, all put that on a very low basis, a very low importance. So I think before we can really get to a point where we can make these fundamental changes to the world, we need to get to a point of altering the perspectives, because with that responsibility comes the credit that everybody can share in. You don't have anybody left out of it. And yeah, responsibility sometimes isn't great. See also me getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work, but getting the credit for it, being part of something happening is very fulfilling. So I'm curious to see kind of where you think these concepts could be taken, and if there's any way to explain it in a slightly less long-winded way than I chose.
If you haven't earned it, you don't appreciate it.
Indeed.
Maybe. I don't know. Do you feel that? Do you feel that's down to the individual as well, though, where they are at in their life and their consciousness? As in, I've had enough slog. Is that a term you guys are familiar with?
Very much.
Whatever you want to. Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, if someone flicked a switch and made it, you know, all good and made me abundant, I'm okay to appreciate that. I don't need any more life or lessons or whatever. It's all good, and I can enjoy that fully. I don't need to keep grinding to find out that I would enjoy that. You know, I mean, I'm sure it's the same for everyone sitting here. It's not really. Why does anybody want? Well, money, you know, why doesn't it's really because they just want their freedom, and that's really the and in this reality that's
right.
kind of what somewhat provides it, that sort of equates to that. But really we just want to be free and sovereign to do as we please, and that is the way that we would do that in this 3D or whatever you want to call it. It allows you to go off and explore the world and do whatever you want, or not get up at 3:30. These kinds of things, yeah. Unless you, like I say, unless you still get something from that, I wouldn't. That's just me.
Well,
No,
I think,
I
you know, I
up
think
till
the
half
whole
3.
thing has been perverted, though, hasn't it? Because I think human beings naturally want to have a purpose and do things and, you know, do their thing. but we've been taught that we have to do this thing to earn our keep, to earn our right to be here, basically. And that in itself makes it all ugly, because, I'm not going to wherever to do something that I feel is helpful and that fulfills me and that helps other people and fulfills other people. I'm going to this grind where I have to do something that is meaningless to me, that someone else is profiting from. And so I think we need to really remove the middleman, because we've got this bully that's taking everything, all of our efforts are going to things that don't matter. Yeah, exactly. And then, we're grabbing this lunch money by doing something we hate, and then somebody grabs most of that from us. And we're like,
but deeper than that, that's on us as individuals. But that also means that I don't get to possibly see, ours or Kaspa's stories. I don't get to see the real Kirsten. I don't get to experience any of these other people who are sat with their head down at a desk or something. So the world also misses out on all that creativity that's available and expression. So it's not just me when I go and waste my day, and not expressing myself fully. And then you could say there used to be a payoff that you then had a little bit of leisure time. But of course, with inflation and things, everybody can work there, until they're half dead and still not, barely get food and a roof over their head. So the deal's broken, even the one that was. It's not sustainable anymore.
Gary and Kaspa will be familiar. Sorry.
Yeah, but I just said that's my thing is that not just me, but I also miss out on all you guys and everybody else, what you have to offer, because you're also bogged down doing rubbish. So and we have storytellers and all sorts here that everyone gets to see, and it's like,
What you were saying just reminded me of a bit from, you'll be familiar with, although Kirsten and Nick probably not, with The Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, which was a 1970s, a great 1970s comedy sitcom, and the main character was very disillusioned with life, corporate life, even in the 70s, and he said, I remember he was saying, like, one day I will die, and on my tombstone it will say, here lies Reginald Perrin. He didn't know the name of the birds and the bees, but he sure knew the apple crumble sales for Sutton Coldfield in 1976.
Yep.
Nonsense. So like I said, I know we have creatives here, which, and as you know, that's part of what Kaspa and I were trying to do on the channel and things, was allow people that little space and platform to
do a grand job of it.
We try.
Yes, you do.
But again, it's finding the time, isn't it?
The time is tricky.
It takes about 20 hours to do an episode of the Livella or whatever, and to do it well enough, it's like, it's not acceptable. I'm not just going to come up with any old crap just to think, it's about time I did another episode now. So.
Well, that is the reality of it, right? It takes time, and let's face it, at the moment you won't get paid. So it's. And I know people say pursue everything that you love and you enjoy, and all of us try to, but you can't then go to the bank manager and say, I had a really good day making music. And he's like, okay, fine, see you next month.
I think it is worth something, though, isn't it? I think the very fact that you are, instead of, just totally and utterly embracing the corporate reality, you are kind of, you are finding that little bit of time, you are giving that little bit of extra. And I know there doesn't seem to be any tangible or visceral feedback for it yet. But I'm just still naive, but I think one of these days it's going to come back to you manifold, and even if it doesn't, you've still won in a little way, because you have found a little bit of time to pour a little bit of your own light and your own vision into the world, instead of just being completely steamrolled over by the drudgery.
Yeah, I agree. I had a friend that
Yeah.
he helped me get back into the music when I hadn't done it for 20 odd years or something or more. And I said, how do you make it now? And he told me what software to try and played me a few of his bits that he'd done. And he very kindly gave us we used some of his music on the first Quantum Bridge intro and things. So because I wasn't making anything back then. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, but since I got back into it, I've probably done a couple of years now of continuing to do it. And he let it go, and he's very busy. He's got his own accountancy business, and I just thought the other day, what you're saying now, that he gave up. I thought, well, this is a guy that kind of got me back into it, and he's now let everything I've learned over the last couple of years. He's not had that experience now. He's just gone back to the grind, and it is sad in a way. Yeah.
It really is. Although it's more sad when you see people just embrace the grind. It's like watching someone leave their soul.
It is. It absolutely isn't. Kathleen's making a good point here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a push to make us feel like we're, because if you step into that despair and just say, okay, I'm just going to go with the grind until, I can retire or die or whatever. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what they want you to do. And so it's really, really difficult to step out of that. They make it difficult to step out of that. But every step that you take out of that.
Yeah,
it really does change.
It's like you're wading through treacle, but the point is you've not that there's that spirit, that little spirit, which the very fact that you're communicating with whatever exists beyond your physical self. You're communicating to the quantum world that you are still alive, and that's really important.
Yes.
And even if you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, it's like I've had some, up until about 2 months ago, I was in the most dire and desperate situation as well, as far as work and finances and things, and you just don't know when and I sometimes think part of the reason why that came to an end was I think you get noticed in some strange ways that you can't even fathom, you can't even predict. And you're not going to get noticed in those ways if you just commit yourself, mind, body, and soul to the apple crumble sales of Sutton Coldfield or whatever. Or like if you just dedicate yourself to sort of, or whatever, whatever it is that crushes your spirit, the call centers or
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Unless you can be totally free within that, I have come across people who do things that I think are, they work literally every hour that is sent. They do things that to me look not meaningless. Nothing is meaningless, and they do it well with conviction, things that I don't maybe set much store to. There is something to be said, though, for I've occasionally come across people who do that. And I'm sure this isn't everybody, and it's not everybody in sort of our separate world either who has this ability, but to sort of compartmentalize. So it looks like they're giving their all, and maybe to some level they are, and they're being, they're a cog in the wheel and whatever. But they sort of see through it and still, maybe I'm quite jealous of people who are able to literally have a foot in both worlds.
And of course, their light comes out in different places. They might not, sort of express themselves in any philosophical way on social media or anything like that, but they might go home and be raising a terrific family and well-balanced children, and planting seeds for gardens that they're for trees that they're never going to be able to sit under or whatever. These things just they crop up. You can't, just like you can't keep a what do you call it? You can't keep a beach ball down underneath the waterline without constantly having to hold it there. If you let it go, and that's a little bit what I mean with this whole what do you call it? The road to hell is paved with good intentions thing. It's like if you just let that beach ball go, its natural state is to float on the water. But tremendous resources are having to be constantly deployed and levied to keep us down like this. And I honestly, I'm convinced that the forces of darkness or entropy or whatever you want to call it, who are actually responsible for keeping us down in that way, they are exhausted.
Yeah,
they are
They're running out of steam.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I've actually had a
Absolutely.
couple run-ins with some entities that used to stalk me here recently, which it's kind of weird because I'm on good terms with them. It's just like, oh, hi, I don't have anything you want. What are you doing? And they've been very bored and stressed lately. Like one of them stopped by the other day, just, hi, kind of missed you. Like, what's going on? It's like, we're overworked, there's no coherence, and we're bored. It's like, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever consider changing any?
Yeah.
But like, this
It's
whole
weird to
realm,
see at the minute, I have to say, because your eyes are seeing one thing, and as we know, a lot of that is portrayed through screens and things, not necessarily in the day-to-day world. My day-to-day is quite pleasant, but if you switch these gadgets on, the world's falling apart. But yeah, so how much of this is real? How much of this is still going on? But I can't ignore that. Whatever I see, I perceive something inside a lot better that's coming, and that's comforting in some way, but also frustrating because you're like, well, come on then, because I can feel it, and I'm used to feeling things like that, and I'm like, why is this one taking so long? It feels a bit
it's like,
weird in that sense. Because,
hurry up.
Yeah, it's like. And then I think about it. I get why it's a big change, right? I mean, this isn't just me; it's a global shift. So it takes time to filter through. I would say, everything, and for everyone to move at a significant point to push things over the edge, I guess.
I think, aren't we understanding these entities, whether metaphysical or real, a bit more in the sense that we're at least aware, firstly, that we shouldn't be feeding them, and secondly, that actually we're not so interested on some level in feeding them, that sort of this whole thing of these sort of darker energies, that there's been part of us that has been in some sort of contract with them on some level, and that contract is...
Yeah.
in some way sort of loosening, at least.
Yeah.
So,
I really agree with you there, Kaspa. And I've noticed, is the more you take your energy back and put it into your own creative, whatever you're trying to create, whether you're just trying to create a friendlier world or whether you're creating an artistic project, whatever you're doing, the more that they're just desperate. And I think when you turn on these boxes that we're on right now, and you see all that chaos, they're pushing it so hard right now. They're pushing it so hard. They must be desperate. I mean, because it keeps ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And it's like they have to get more and more.
But that's all sort of relevance, isn't it, Kirsten? I mean, actually, when we withdraw from them, what they absolutely hate, like any sort of narcissist in this sense, is not to have that attention. And actually, that was partly what they've been feeding on forever anyway. They didn't need to ramp this up when we all maybe if we do talk in time terms, going back to ours, 1970s and whatever, they didn't need to ramp it up to that level because society, or at least culturally, the societies in the West that I think we've all been involved with mostly, it was baked into those societies, nicely hidden, but baked in. And we just automatically, we may have railed against it internally in some way and not given name to that at that time. And then obviously in the last 5 or 6 years, we've all managed to understand that our family wasn't necessarily our family, our world wasn't necessarily a world that we were comfortable in. And it just seems that, that there was a time when that absolutely had captured most beings. And now actually there's a lot of us are just saying, well, that's not for me.
Yeah.
The machine was built for a certain level of pressure, and the pressure is built up, and it can't cope with that pressure anymore. It's malfunctioning here, there, and everywhere, and seams are splitting, and cracks are opening, and fluids are leaking, and all sorts of things.
I mean, on a cultural level, though, because I'm a huge fan of history. I read and listen to, well, probably more than I should. But when you look at the history of revolutions, the first step of change for people kicking over and going, okay, it's time to do it, it comes with I don't care. Where the people will make their point and then get called insert pejorative here. And the tipping point in every revolution is when they're called whatever insult or slur is just, I don't care.
It used to be blasphemer or witch or things. Now it's racist and whatever.
Picked one, but back in, there was a great story I read from, I can't remember the author now. It was about Mussolini's rise to power in Italy. You have the original fascist, and there was heavy opposition. It was very much on the verge of becoming a full-on communist country. And the communists were running around saying, well, don't you care about the people? Don't you care about this? Don't you care about that? And Mussolini's fans just said, no, me ne frego. I don't care. They just stopped engaging with the system and it rolled rapidly. And I feel like globally, because we're in a very unique point of history in that, thanks to our doom bricks, everything is connected. I can keep an eye on what's going on in Britain. You guys can, you probably don't want to, but you can keep an eye on what's going on in the US.
Or what they want you to, more what you can find out what really is going on as well, but that's harder. You have to exert effort and intellectual, you have to actually search and think about what you're searching for in order to find anything real,
But it's possible. Back when we all grew up, it wasn't. If you didn't come from an approved source, you just didn't hear about it. And so now we have a situation where everyone can compare notes worldwide. Everyone can look and go, wait a sec, this country is having the same thing happen as this one, the same thing is happening in mine. What's going on here and how are people handling it? And so we're actually on the verge of something unique in history where
we can
have a global consensus able to be made. It hasn't been made. But this is the first time in history that everybody can sit down and compare notes. And
that we can do this. I mean, the other big thing is that, to whatever scale these things are that we are doing, and I can't for a second say that the quantum bridge is huge or other things that we're doing are massive. But we don't know about the ripple effect.
I mean, call me traumatized or whatever, but I wouldn't trust a global consensus. Maybe that's my problem. The minute a global census rears its ugly head, I'm like, who's trying to sell this to me? But then that could be.
Don't give the evil people all the credit for
No,
manufacturing
yeah,
events.
I'm aware. No, but I'm aware that there is this, like, possibility of this cynicism within me that sooner or later I'm going to have to use my own discernment to know when to quit it as well,
Yeah.
which is a challenge in itself, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
But remember when Twitter, X, sorry, I'm old, implemented the inline translation feature where it would automatically translate other languages? I've got friends who live in Japan, so I kind of ended up in that Japanese circle when that happened. And what was fascinating was seeing the direct conversation between Japanese and Americans
and Korean.
They were like, wait, I thought all Americans hated Japan. It's like, no, we love you guys. And they're like, what? Our government said that Americans look down on us. It's like, no, we respect you highly. And it was an absolute mind blow to the Japanese because they're like, well, we just thought you guys didn't care for us. And they were being told that Americans didn't like them, looked down on them, were still bitter over World War II, thought that they should never have any military or weaponry because they were terrible people. It's like, nah, bro, we like anime and your culture and the interesting things you do with it. And there was just a wall that broke there of, well, we actually understand what you think, not what we're being told. And why is the government telling us to hate you?
Grima Wormtongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's more the consensus I'm talking about. Maybe consensus is the wrong word, but the idea that we can break through the structures that have been put up and actually see what the world is thinking.
But isn't it a consensus outside of the mass media? Even us, even on this channel, when we think about that thing of you can find out and you can still, I think part of that is you can find out on a big scale through mass media. But actually what we're all saying and have discovered ourselves, I'm sure, is that when you have these sort of more one-to-one conversations, and that's why I'd encourage anybody out there who wants to set up or do something similar to this or join ourselves or yourselves or whatever, just to do it, because the amplification of these what seem to be like small and minor voices, I mean, this is where you might have a chance of finding some level of truth, even if nothing else about yourself. And without a dialogue, the other thing is that the mass media immediately gives you no potential really to engage. But here, this is, hopefully when I shut up anyway, but it's two-way, right? It's the ability to actually engage in a two-way dialogue. The other funny thing that I think is that a lot of people on the other side of this argument, or in the different world, or however we want to put it, come together in these sort of things and are quite irate about what's going on with maybe the likes of us or people who don't agree with them. And it always strikes me that, not necessarily that there's none of that sort of urgency or that we don't have things that piss us off, but at the same time, we all tend to be quite reasonable.
Well,
a lot of live and let live.
The media does that intentionally. If you're really hooked into the main mass media, you are very irate. My family are very, very woke, and they're always irate about something, and they're not normally irate people. I mean, that's the funny thing. If you actually, they're all, as Al was saying earlier, they have very good intentions, and they really do care about people, and they want things to be good for everyone, but they're so angry about everything. And I think, I think the mass media, one of the things that they do is they get you and they show you all this stuff. You can do nothing about any of this. This is on your screen. You can't do anything about it, but it's horrible. And there it is. And so you immediately feel powerless when you're watching that. You immediately feel depressed. Oh my gosh, the world is chaos. Everything sucks and I can't do a damn thing about it. And that makes you mad. And so you're sitting there in this ineffectual sort of rage And because you have to point a finger at someone, because that's the way narcissists work, you got to point the finger at somebody, then they're going to point the finger at us because we're not in that system. So it's, again, it's, and I don't know what the answer is, because those people are choosing to be in that vibration, in that system. And
it's like I have this,
I
have this idea, like you get to heaven, you pass the pearly gates, they give you your wonderful heavenly apartment in heaven, and you've got your heavenly television set, and you turn on your heavenly television set, and it's telling you about terrible things that are happening, like in hell or on the other side of the universe at the opposite end of time, and like these are really, really terrible things, and why don't you care enough, and what why aren't you doing anything? Why are you just sitting there in heaven? Do something. There's just awful things are happening at the other end of time, at the opposite end of the universe, and they're just, you wouldn't believe how terrible they are, but we can show you how terrible they are if you want, And when does it stop? It's an addiction.
Yeah.
It is.
It is an addiction.
But it stops when you stop, doesn't it? That's
Right.
when
Yeah.
It is.
I mean,
Exactly.
Exactly.
And
It
you
stops
can't
when you
make
turn it
other
off.
people stop.
It stops when you go click and you turn it off.
Yeah.
yeah, or you disengage, literally, figuratively or literally, yeah.
Something you were saying about social media and this type of thing, and vibration and what people are looking at, and the connection across the world of doing things like this. And I think what I've noticed is over the years how there aren't so many gatekeepers. There can't be as much. Of course, they use censorship and things like that and suppression. But even some of the like YouTube channels I might watch, and I think might be like a travel show or a guy eating food or something. And I think, well, this used to have to be a BBC presenter, trained, and now it's just a guy with a camera who's got a passion for something, and obviously that, because they had that passion rather than just being paid to present, it's actually much more authentic. I've noticed that sort of change of what I view, but also the sort of content that is out there, that it is just regular people building things up. If I want to watch music stuff about, on the technical side that I struggle with, it's just other people, who present this stuff and who've been through it. I find that sort of interesting, in that sort of, that there aren't as many gatekeepers. We are connected worldwide, and there are these sort of other little communities.
Well, there you go. You see, they're focusing on making their own little corner of the world better. They're not standing up on a big soapbox and saying, "I've got the answer. I can solve the Middle East crises. I can do this, and I've got the solution for that." No, they're in their little corners of the world, and they're just making their own little. If everyone just does their own little corner and makes it look nice and sweeps their own front gate, there you go. I mean, there's at least a suggestion which doesn't involve.
Well, that is it. Yeah, and I think.
Yeah.
And I think
Definitely.
That also goes back to sort of the context that Kirsten and Nick wanted to cover here, of how we can help each other. Obviously, in our own little way, we do try and share each other's posts and whatever we're working on in whatever way we can. That's one thing. But I've noticed, like myself and my wife as a household, our expenditure has been taken, so much away from corporations. There's very little that we go to buy from corporations. So all our money goes towards local independent stores as much as possible. So I go direct, I'm lucky enough to have a dairy that I can go direct to the farmer.
That's great.
Or small little businesses and shops. And I think, like we were talking online, sometimes you have these honesty boxes out there, and you can go and buy eggs off of your neighbour type thing. I drove past one today where a guy was selling his honey. I used to have a guy right around the corner, but unfortunately he doesn't do it anymore. But
Austria's pretty good for that if you've got your own transport. It's not so much.
Well, that's it. And but that's why I would say I would like to see that more in our communities. I'd like to be able to walk around the village and just do most of my shopping if possible. And I do remember again, I'm going back some years, but I remember there was a lady who did have she had made cakes, and she turned her garden into a little tea room, and it's right up my street. But then in the end, she put like a little. It was on her land, a little cabinet with cakes. But then the council said, no, you can't do that. And she had to take it all. And again, I go back to what I was saying earlier. That passion now that we miss out on. She loves doing that, and it came through in the food. And again, I am lucky now because I do. It's troublesome as well because there's a cabinet around the corner full of cakes, and you can just you're like, oh no.
And then you feel community obliged to buy those cakes as well. Come on, you haven't bought a cake for 3 weeks. Come on.
The city council is actually helping you, Gary.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm lucky because if we talk about what's changing in the world, I'm lucky because I see this shift of all these little small stores and farm shops. They are busy. I'm like, wow. And there's new ones opening, bakeries. I'm like, okay.
See, they're not talking about that though, are they? And the algorithms aren't really disseminating that nearly as much as they should as well. Instead, it's like, whoa, AI is going to take over everything. We're going to put chips in your brain,
Yeah.
So it's just half of the equation. Yeah.
See, one thing.
It's true. I'm seeing that here too. The local stuff. Our farmers market started about 10 years ago, and it was just a couple of guys selling vegetables. Now we have a whole array of things that are being produced locally, and people are buying that. And it's so busy, you can't even find a place to park when you go there. So it is happening. Of course, it's not happening fast enough for a lot of us, but it is happening, and it's going to be gradual because we can't,
It doesn't have the advertising juggernaut and the propaganda juggernaut behind it. Therefore, it can't really be happening. So we all need to focus on the doom instead, because that's so much easier to find, isn't it?
But that is something practical we can do, is actually support each other. Unfortunately, I still see a lot, of the awakened, if you like, or whatever term you want to use online, that they still go supermarket shopping, and I think, well, you're moaning about things, and you're still supporting things that you moan about. So it's a tricky one.
I know. I see that too.
And people like convenience, but I've sort of made it. That's our day out, is going to different farm shops. So it's
lovely.
Yeah, we enjoy that. So yeah,
and it is fun to get out and
do different little stops.
Do it too.
Yeah. I could just walk round the corner and buy milk, right? But I could just walk there. But it's nice to go to the dairy. They know us, and a little chit chat. And he does good ice cream as well. But,
we're having to reinvent the wheel, isn't it? That was just like that. In the 70s, that was just going, or the 80s even. You go down to the local grocers, and you sort of, they know your name, and you sort of fill your basket with locally grown produce and whatever, and you have a butcher's. Supermarkets existed. I'm not pretending that they didn't, but it was kind of, there was an overlap. There was a crossover.
But that was for your big shop.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, or your emergency shop.
Yeah, that sort of thing, or the cat food, or whatever.
No, you must have. You not quite as old as me, Al, but I mean, I remember having a high street of little stores, and then Tesco's coming in. The baker went, the butcher went, the greengrocer went. The whole
we only had a co-op in New Mills, my hometown. There was no like Sainsbury's, or you had to go to Stockport for that. That's 8 miles away.
I suppose Kaspa and I were Londoners back then.
Yeah, but I do remember that whole thing of being fed, both figuratively and actually with food, i.e. going. I used to call them my ladies, going and seeing my ladies. A series of shops that had these when I was only 4 or 5, these older women in there who I used to go in and have a chat with. And, you'd go into the, as Al was saying, you'd go into the grocer, you'd go into the butchers, you'd go into whatever. And you'd literally, even as a 5, 6 year old kid up to that sort of age, you'd go in and have a chat. and they all found it quite amusing that I wanted to go in and chat to them. But you were getting something beyond what you were buying for physical sustenance. You were getting community.
We
And
still have
what-
milk deliveries as
It's-
well. We still have the milk.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
On the
it's
winter
like
mornings,
that
the milk used to
now.
freeze, and it used to push the creamy bit of the cream. Used to like push itself up through the little top, and
Like
you know,
a solid
sometimes
one.
sometimes the magpies would nick it as well. The magpies
right.
would come and nick the silver bit. My mum used to put little Tupperware tops on top of it to protect against the magpies.
That's awesome.
But it is that thing of that energizing the things that you want, and we do that with our attention. We can take it away from the mainstream.
We do.
Energize other channels and media, and we do that with the money, which is just energy as well. If we put it into the things that we want to see more of, and I think obviously the more of us that do that actually direct it rather than still going to things we don't want to see, actually direct it away. And of course, you can a step further from that would be if you've got anything to save, it's just to put it into something else rather than just leaving it on the bank's sort of balance sheet. Putting it into something like precious metal, which you physically hold, and it's not in there. Which I think a lot of the Patriot movement has done. They've either gone into metals or crypto or something. I wonder how many millions aren't on the balance books of the deep state, or whatever you want to call it. You know,
I managed
there's
to
a lot.
snaffle a very modest bit of silver about 5 years ago.
There you
Before
go.
it
Well, that is good. Yeah.
Nothing to get excited about, but better than nothing, you know.
It is good to get excited about that. Yeah. You get whatever you can.
Metals, gold, and guns are always good ones.
So there are little things we can do, you know, with very small changes can have a large impact.
See, I think your perspective is right on, because if you look at it like to both your and Al's points, this is an era where you are starting to see that fracturing, where people are doing more small businesses, doing more community-based stuff. And there's also a lot of pressure trying to hold it down. I mean, I know that U.S. regulations are nothing compared to the British Council infringement on everybody's sanity, rights, and property. But it seems like the more that this is developing, the more they're trying to clamp down on it. And if that regulation ever goes away or even gets slightly reduced, I mean, I want to start a pub and bakery, but between health department, unemployment tax, the tax rates, workman's comp, insurance, all that, there's no way I can afford it. Let alone the paperwork alone is a full-time job.
You know what?
Let alone
Cost
running
out
it.
small businesses.
But if that shatters, you're going to
I've said
see
this.
the local cities just explode
Oh,
with
yeah.
life.
That's happening. I can see it very clearly. I am certain that is going to happen in the next.
I'm
10 to
going
20.
back a long way, Nick.
Yes.
When I first went, I was unemployed, and I went on a little scheme to how to start a business. And I was saying this to my wife earlier, actually, that and you'd go around the table of what people, you know, what was stopping them, what were they afraid of, and no one said anything to do with their business. It was tax.
Yep.
When do I pay? When is this guy going to come knocking on my
Red
door?
tape.
Yeah, how do I? All the red tape. How do I start it up? How do I register? There was nothing about actually what they were planning to do, and I know a lot of people don't like this new stuff, and they should listen to our video with Al when it comes out, because we talk about AI and the possible liberation of
I've
it.
almost forgotten about that.
Yeah, I know. You know, as we sort of other things happen these days, but it's kind of a level playing field, because those things you can ask it. But how do I do this? You know, read through that for me. Give me a summary, and it does. I mean, ultimately, we need some of this stuff taken off our back. So like Al said, so that ball can have its buoyancy. But it's just being held down. It's all ready to go.
Quite deliberately, I might add.
Absolutely deliberately. And I've heard, I'm not really into politics, but I've heard Rupert Lowe put forward some excellent ideas of how to free up enterprise and business and get this off of our back. So that
it's not rocket science, is it?
Well, no, it isn't. And
unfortunately, it might as well be for the people who are actually, because we've had a culture of incompetence in Britain anyway, in my opinion, in the last at least 30 to 40 years. You know, the people, you've probably seen it in the workplace yourself, the people that get promoted to like supervisor and mid-management levels are all fucking jobs worths. And they have been as long as I've been in the job market, you know. And it used to before I became more conspiratorially minded, it used to, in my 20s, it used to perplex me. It's like, what? Who are these people that, you know, you just, you know, you're getting morons telling you what to do all the time, and that they've got no nuance, and they can't make any kind of decision. Everything's got to be by the book, and that they're just systems people, you know, very much like Keir Starmer. You know, that he sums it up perfectly. He sums up modern Britain perfectly.
Yep. I'm sure you've heard of the Peter principle.
Yeah. I mean, I just think there's going to hopefully be, like, say, new leadership roles. I think I've spoken this before about in there, that maybe whether we like it or not, it will include some of us in stepping up. And Matt,
I'm up for a challenge.
They'll be inside. I'm thinking the future. This could just be my trying to manifest things ahead of time. You know, I'm thinking, well, I've been in Austria for the last 14 years. You know, and I'm thinking, you know, I can see it in 10. Once the boat starts turning the other way, and you know, I can see there being certain incentives for especially long-term expats to try and entice them back again. And you know, when that happens, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, what's it worth? You know.
You never know.
I'm listening.
It's not that crazy an idea, a concept.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think we're a few years off yet, but you know, maybe certainly before I retire, you know, you know, I can see that.
We've spoken about being galactic ambassadors and things, so we're way down the line, but.
Yeah. No, I like to think about stuff like that as well. Absolutely, sort of. You know, you sort of, or there being. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the work of a science fiction writer called Julian May, where in her books there was an intervention in 2013. The intervention happened in 2013, and humanity got invited into a benevolent galactic milieu, and they got given 783 planets which were only suitable for humans to colonize. So that means basically every culture and every country and every ethnic group got its own planet. You know, so there was a Scottish planet, and there was like an Italian planet, and there's a Canadian planet, and everything, you know, like everywhere got its own planet, you know, which is a rather fun idea. Anyway,
how long before the rockets started to get launched?
Well, the humans were if you like, they were invited before their full psychosocial maturity or spiritual maturity, and so they started causing trouble, and they started, you know, kind of messing with the galactic milieu, and that's the story. No, it's a fantastic story, you know, but
it was the Brits that started it, wasn't it?
Actually, no. I think no. It was a family of French Canadians, if I remember right.
Oh well, even worse.
Yeah. I don't know anything about them. I'm just saying it's the story. I have no particular angle on that myself. But
I've looked into that. I think the Brits give it. I've stopped calling myself British. Yeah, English.
Well, I know. I say I can't really do that because I was raised in England, but my dad's Welsh and he's a native Welsh speaker. So if I just call myself, it's presumptuous of me to call myself Wales because I didn't grow up in Wales. But it's presumptuous of me to it's also like kind of ignoring my own, you know, Welsh ancestry to say, you know. So for me, I don't have a problem with the whole British thing. But I mean, I should be like that because my dad's from Cyprus, so it's. Yeah. But then Cyprus isn't part of the British Isles.
Yeah.
I mean, my mum's Swiss, so we can talk about that as well. But I'm culturally a lot less Swiss, whereas the overlap is obviously greater with the countries of the British Isles. So, but plus, almost everyone, I lived in Britain for the first 34 years of my life, right? And pretty much everybody I ever met or grew up with had at least one either parent or grandparent who was from one of the other, like a parent or grandparent who was either Welsh or Scottish or Irish. Almost everybody. So I don't, people are starting to get very hung up because we're all super sensitive about ethnicity now. They're all getting hung up about like whether you just identify as it. That in itself is nonsense as well. Just relax.
Yeah, I agree. The British, I don't know, to me I've started to think, is that like the deep state, and they get away with a lot of things by bunging us all in their operations. It was the British Empire, and but now we get.
It's an older word than that, though, isn't it? Britannia is a Roman word, so.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, all this stuff, and then they sort of blame it on us lot, it's like it's just
we were it was basically we were the first to get subjugated by these royal families who came over, and they crushed and subjugated the English first, and then they went on to the Welsh, and then they went on to the Scots and the Irish. It's like
still trying with the Irish.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there's obviously more of a story there. I mean, it's terribly, you could have 10, 20 shows talking about that. But,
Before you misunderstand my teasing, I do have a lot of respect for what the British Isles as a whole have done. I know that there are different cultures. I know better than to confuse Welsh, English, and Scottish, especially. And I will never call them the UK, because that is just the globalist BS for that region. But I have a lot of respect for them. I mean, you look at what that region did through the 16, 17, 1800s. It's really impressive what they were able to accomplish. I'm always going to give them crap. I'm always going to give the Brits crap about not asking where the things in their museums came from, but
quite right.
When you guys get organized, and especially like I said, my love of history, look back at the 1700s, it was a very much unified culture outside of the subcultures of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales.
Well, but then unfortunately it comes into the class structure.
No, true.
Because that for us is such a major big deal, because if you look at it as sort of upper class, middle class and working class, I mean the working class just got shafted throughout the whole thing, and they didn't get any of the benefits, but they get lumped with you're part of that lot that did all these terrible things.
Yeah, they got conscripted, and they got the benefit of being arrow fodder, and then later cannon fodder and machine gun fodder.
Unfortunately, it has very many levels, and just like for somebody in America or within a region, if it's Arkansas is very different to another part of the states and whatever, because even if you start to categorize it as English and England, which I do think of myself as English, but suddenly there's a north-south divide. Then there's even a north of the river in London, south of the
southern
river.
Jessies.
Exactly. So it just keeps on subdividing down, which is all comes back to this divide and conquer sort of, or left brain, right brain, or the whole.
Even Manchester and Liverpool as
well.
Exactly. Not both in the northwest. That's I tell you, I mean, they're so similar, but
it's not even Manchester and Liverpool.
Tell a Scouser or a Manc that they're similar.
But it's Liverpool and Liverpool. It's Manchester.
Of course. That was going to be the next point after that.
They're Everton versus.
And yet, if they were to bump into each other on top of Ayers Rock in Australia, they'd be like, "Oh mate, come out, let's have a pint,"
I had
often the Americans being divided by a common language. It's us and us being divided by a common language.
I had a
Yes.
Yorkshireman one time tell me that
Yorkshire
everybody's
and
in it.
Lancashire.
No, he was from up in the Dales. If he got excited, you couldn't understand a word he said. It's like every
I would.
region up there is enemies, but they become more friends the closer you get to London. It's like York and Manchester will be rivals, but if somebody from Dover shows up, they'll forget that rivalry in a hurry.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah, there is. It's yeah. That's what I mean. It's like who you meet on Ayers Rock, you know, like it. But it depends. If like if a Scouser, a Manc, and a Londoner met, then the Scouse and the Manc would stick. Or if two Londoners and a Manc, you know, then the two Londoners would stick. You know, it's yeah. It depends on the company.
And see, I think in the future, what I'd like to see happen is for there to kind of be a moratorium on restriction temporarily to allow people to live with their cultures, because you know I can go anywhere and I'm an American. If I show up anywhere in England, I'm just going to be an American. I couldn't dress, or even if I acquired the accent, I'd still be an American. It doesn't matter if I was there 30 years, you know. I'm always going to be
I don't go around calling myself an Austrian. I've been here 14 years. I'm not even close. I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't even dream of it. Yeah.
Culturally, you're not Austrian. Culturally, everybody would see you as a Brit.
Right.
And
but Nick, there is another layer even of that you would also be Nick. You might be Nick the American, and I might be Kaspa the English guy when I'm in the States. But you are also still Nick, and I'm also still Kaspa.
Yeah.
And if you come into the environs of people who are more like us, a bit more open, and a bit just take a moment before they always react in a certain way, I think we can be much more, you know, children of the cosmos, or you know, members of a global body of beings, rather than. So I get it, and I feel like, because I love the States, and in many ways I prefer to live in America than in the UK. But there is part of me that thinks, yeah, but you know, I'm always English, or probably to most people he's just a Brit, and you know that. But I think sort of we're all going to have to drop that to, so you know, there has to at least be coming back to your sort of moratorium, the ability to drop that a bit, even for a second, even in some environments, because otherwise we're always outsiders to each other. There's always that other layer that's, you know.
And I found it interesting.
It's unnecessary. We don't need that. You know, you are Nick, you're here, you're just another guy on this, as is Kirsten, as am I, as is Gary, you know, as is Al. We're just people, beings together, sharing a conversation. And this thing of labeling, because we've been so over-labeled for so long, and those labels are just getting poured on us thick and fast, more
rammed down our throats. Yeah.
See, it's honestly something I'm torn on, because culturally I value the culture I've come from. You know, I'm happy to be Nick the American, and I spent about 4.5 months in Cork, Ireland on a field job there. And I mean, yeah, I'm still the Yank at the end of the day. But culturally I wasn't part of them, but they took me in because I treated being there like I'm a guest in their home. I'm not going to say, oh, that's not how we do it in America. I was like, okay, boys, it's not a good time. It's a grand crack. Got it. It makes no sense, but understood. And I think I like the fact that America has its, compared to the rest of the world, very tiny slice of history. I like what we've built. I like the fact that I am an American, but at the same time, it really feels like a lot of these things are holding us back from being able to grow. You know, just look at the long-standing grudges between Scotland and England. It's still there. They haven't fought each other in a long time, but there's still that
But again, it's
cultural
only certain
barriers.
people. Oh, you can find those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like you can find them in Wales as well. You can go to pubs in Welsh-speaking Wales where everyone's still stewing in their juices about things that happened hundreds of years ago. Yeah, and you can get that in Scotland, and you can get that in Ireland. But it depends who you hang around with, you know.
Yeah.
That's
But like,
true.
oh,
That's true.
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well,
Sorry, I talked too much.
Oh, well, there you are. You've got an opportunity.
The Lizzies have decided to stop this conversation. We need to keep dividing and ruling people.
Yes,
This is getting too unified here, you know.
right? It's true. No, but
They're scared of
there's
you,
a way
Kirsten.
to not think about people. Like they should be.
Yeah, they should be. That's right.
Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, they are. In fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And-
What they wouldn't be bothering doing.
are.
Yeah.
So we don't have to think about those people. Oh, they're Scottish. Oh, they're American or whatever. We don't have to think about them anymore. They're this label. And I think we need to have way more dialogue, even what you were talking about before, Nick, with the Japanese and everything, because we have these governments and we're like basically labeling people by their governments. And that's not the way that we are.
Iran says this.
And-
It's like, no.
Yeah.
Iran is 90 million people. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And
Well,
they're
that's
all
that
saying
even on a
different things,
local
and
level.
they're people-
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the same on a local
Yeah.
level, isn't it? You know, it's always for us. It's the council says that there's no such thing as the council.
Exactly,
There's
yeah.
people who are making certain decisions, generally bad ones, I might add. But anyway, they are people, just like the people that they're affecting. They're
It's
not the
statecraft.
council.
The Romans, the Romans would do it. Like Julius Caesar used to say, "Rome will not forgive you." If
Well,
you do
yeah,
not.
precisely, yeah.
I think
Yeah, it's like
I don't. I like because when they take the word diversity, you know it's a bit of a triggering word. But I like that the world is diverse, and it should sort of stay that way. They sort of try to
Not includes
Like,
diversity of opinion, right?
Yeah,
that
right,
would be
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
That would be nice.
and they try to sort of make every country the same with this. If I go to Germany, I want to predominantly be German, so that we have the option then to experience different parts of the world, and these things are. It's why we have different foods, and we can also go down. I was thinking the other day when people say, "Well, what is British culture? What is this culture?" I mean, these things are formed over hundreds of years, and it's why a Ferrari or a Lamborghini is a certain way, because it's coming from Italy compared to the technical thing of like Porsche coming from Germany, and the Aston Martin, which has the sort of gentlemanly kind of James Bond thing. Even in the cars, in the things we manufacture, that comes through everything. And I enjoy those that we have those choices because of those long lineages that are developed over a long period of time. And the only time I went to America, I was a toddler, like 6 years old. But again, a country that's so vast, you can explore in the same country completely different types of cultures and people. And it's like, I think that's diverse to me, not throwing everybody and making these places diverse.
I don't want homogenization. If I'm
Well,
going
this
to
is it, yeah, you
England,
lose-
I want to see England.
You lose it all, yeah. And it's,
I can see, like, when things have had a fair crack of improving, I can see a lot of countries, the ones who have been most traumatized by this homogenization and diversity shit. I can see them becoming like theme park caricature versions of themselves for a few decades and just really enjoy. And they'll even split up into decades. Like it's like you can have. Do you want to visit like a city which is basically England in the 80s and a city which is like Scotland in the 90s or whatever, and you're going to be, and they're going to really kind of go to town on that, or exactly, it's
I
like
can see that, and it's like I'd like to preserve these unique cultures, like you say, the people that gave us the Aston Martin, the Robin Reliant, and other things like this.
There's no need to go there, Nick.
the Austin Mini.
That's the eccentric side of us.
Hey, we gave you the Pinto, okay, to forgive us. But, you know, I'd like to see these cultures preserved because there is history there. But how do you if you have to run, if a people has to run based off of a common culture versus a government, I would much prefer the cultural, voluntary nature. But how do you keep it from becoming tribal and eventually disliking people? I would like to think that's going to be solved by a change of consciousness, but you still have to ask the questions of how do people get along with each other.
Stop listening to politicians. I honestly think, and switch off the TV. I honestly think, in my experience, ordinary people kind of meet each other. Yeah, you might get the odd, like people get drunk and then they have a bit of a scuffle and things like that, and then it's forgotten about. But ordinary people aren't really like that, especially in a resource. Obviously, in tribal times, resources was an issue, and we hear stories about how tribes used to obviously go to war and things like that over resources and land and things like that. Yeah, and and there's absolutely no doubt that happened. But there was probably also vast periods of unrecorded time where people lived together in relative peace and harmony, or even extremely good peace and harmony, and it just doesn't get recorded, and it certainly doesn't get made into Hollywood films.
I mean, the truth is, by the sort of 80s and 90s, and obviously I am talking from my own ethnicity and being brought up in the UK, so I wasn't in another country that I wasn't originally from and whatever, so I am talking from that perspective. But at the same time, we were sort of okay generally, right? And then suddenly this sort of enforced inclusivity, which is anything but inclusivity, and this labeling all came in. And, to coin a sort of Morgan Freemanism, it sort of stop talking about it, because the more we talk about difference, the more by doing that we don't create, harmony by talking about difference. You create harmony by talking about the commonality, what you have actually in common.
Well, have fun with it. Where I come from, and maybe it's a Northern English, so we say, come off it. It's a bit like get off your high. So it's just come off it. Stop being so high-handed about everything. It's like, stop taking yourself so seriously. Yeah, it's exactly. There are differences. It's a laugh. Yeah. Have a laugh with it.
Well, Kaspa and I grew up in London, so we were on the front line of that kind of immigration. Like I said, many of us have that kind of background as well. But it's because especially after the war, a lot of people, my wife's grandmother, she was from Austria, so she married an English soldier, came over. So there's a lot of that type of immigration. And the point Kaspa makes is that it was up until pretty much Blair in '97. Let's face it. Yeah. That from that point onwards, where we get to
my shame, I voted for him in '97. Well, I'm not proud of myself. I was young and stupid. It was the first election I voted in.
Up until that point, I paid no attention to politics, and I was like, I need to take notice. But that's on the front line again, because we was at the
we Northerners, we all hated Thatcher, and although she was gone, like Major was just Thatcher's creature, we just wanted rid,
But
so we had no idea,
Yeah, that's it. We went to school with people from all around the world, and we worked with them, and it wasn't a problem because it used to be the tens of thousands, then it became the hundreds of thousands, then it was like the millions, and it's like I know it's an overused word again, but it was a very peaceful, tolerant society. And it's been pushed to the limit intentionally to cause this friction again. It's. I
think it would have been long past the limit if we hadn't been brainwashed into thinking we're all closet racists somehow.
Yeah, it's taken its time, and it didn't need to get as bad as it's obviously got. There probably aren't many nice solutions left, unfortunately. And we'll see how that plays out. But.
Millions must go, I suppose.
I think we might be pleasantly surprised there. I think people genuinely want to go back to where they come from if it suits them. If it just needs to be more palatable. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that things are necessarily going to get as ugly as some people would say.
I don't
No,
think they will, but I think that the scare of them being that way, scare events are necessary to wake people up.
Yeah.
You know, here in Missouri, we have a big problem with welfare leeches, and you could solve the workforce problem in a hurry just by turning off the incentive. You know, if your Afghans and Pakistanis aren't getting free hotels, healthcare, and cash, but they're not going to want to stay if they've got to go to work. They'll go back home if you just say, hey, we'll give you the plane ticket. I mean, I don't think the solution is going to be as brutal as people think, but I suspect scare is going to be the necessary part of like, well, okay, what do I care about? Because this whole thing is just about altering the ways people think. Because right now, and I had a long argument with one of my spirit contacts. I was like, okay, why can we not have abundance? And she was kind of like, oh, what would you do if you could have anything you wanted right now? It's like, I'd be 90% responsible with it. She's like, how about your coworkers? It's like, oh, okay, I see your point. Like, how would they handle if they discovered in a week what you've discovered in the last 6 years? It was like, a lot of them probably wouldn't. If you discovered everything you believed in was a lie and a malicious one, how many people do you think would survive that? And I kind of asked her,
it's also the internal journey as well, because those external things, I know that they have an internal implication, but it's also that there's been some sort of marination in us that, something has happened to manage to take on board all that stuff and to have a level of calmness. I'm not saying all the time, but to have a level of calmness. And I think
modicum anyway.
Yeah, well, the modicum. I think that's the tough bit,
If you just drop the... Go ahead.
To me, it was a relief when I discovered everything was a lie and it was a malicious one, because I knew that there was something wrong and I thought it was me. But I do get it, because I see a lot of people that I know and I think about what they would feel like if the things that they were telling me, if they actually realized where they came from and what they actually, like the political things they tell me or whatever. And I do know that it would horrify and devastate them. So
which is quite encouraging.
I don't know how we deal with it.
It's time for kid gloves, though. It's like, fine, let it horrify them.
Yeah.
You must be familiar with that. What's that film? They Live. Where they have that long fight scene in They Live, and he's like, just look at it. Put on those glasses and look at it. You've got to shove their faces in it a little bit, maybe.
I appreciate that, but I also appreciate the literal death toll that would take from people who were forced to awaken too quickly, and I'd really rather not see a rash of that. Yeah, I mean, it is a concern to me that a lot of people can't even conceive that their sect of religion might be wrong, let alone the religion itself.
See, this is why I don't trust myself to make the world a better place, because my good intentions would be like...
I mean, a real part of me is just like, here, catch. But...
grind their faces into the...
I'm not a bad person. I'm just chaos has a place.
I'm just not to be trusted with power, that's all. At least I know it. At least I know it.
You're not the only one that knows it, Al.
I think Gary and Kirsten are the only two in the room who are.
Probably. Possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the ones you got to watch out for, though.
Yeah, that's right.
They're all sweetness and light. They're all sweetness and light until the Politburo votes for them, and then the mass. Horrors.
No, I can see Gary with a handlebar.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about Gary. Kirsten, on the other hand.
Her dogs would keep her in line.
No, Kirsten would be like, you know, that bit in Lord of the Rings where Galadriel goes, instead of a Dark Lord, you would have a queen.
Yeah,
Not beautiful, but terrible as the, you know. You know the scene I mean, surely. Where they offer Galadriel the ring and she just freaks out for a moment and then goes, no, actually, I better not take that.
Well, Gandalf does a similar thing, doesn't he?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Kirsten's laughing too much about this.
Darn, you know my secret now.
Yeah, touched a nerve, revealed a secret, yeah. I do think that these questions that we're sort of not trying to answer really, but sort of trying to answer, they are, I mean, these are the things that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we wouldn't have even tried to look at a picture this large. We were just trying to survive what was a very difficult time. So in a way, it's nice. One positive to take away from this is that we are able to have this, and with a certain level of humor baked into it, despite everything. So, you know, I know we all want things to move more quickly, but to be honest, 5 to 6 years of moving from that point and that feeling to this point and this feeling, it's pretty quick.
Well,
You're
we've
right.
been gulags by now. It can't be that bad because if it. Sorry.
No,
awkward silence.
Go ahead, Al.
No, it can't be that bad because if it was, we'd have all been either being gulags or long dead by now. So the fact that we're not is, or are we? Maybe we're just. Maybe this is the afterlife.
We are. We already were.
If this is the afterlife, I had to have done horrible things to puppies during my life.
That's a bit rude.
That's what the healing's all about. You know, you have to reach into former lives and figure out, you know, all those times you were, you know, I'm not you talking about you, Nick, obviously. I'm just talking very generally.
No. At some point, I'll tell you, my year of hell from 2020 to early 2021, the spirit team gave me the speed run of past lives and things I needed to resolve. I was not a very nice person. I'll just put it that way. But
Well, I think
at the same time, we've moved past a lot of the pain, shame, guilt. I explained it to a friend. The cycle of grief is a very powerful one to understand this process over the last few years. You have denial, you have bargaining, you have that whole cycle before you get to acceptance. And where we've hit with acceptance, I've seen this amazing growth that as all of us hit the acceptance part and realized we can't fix it, we can't change it, we can build new with the ashes of the old world and old world views as fertilizer for something new. We've stopped trying to vote in better politicians. We've stopped trying to give our energy to corporations that are better than the old ones. We've stopped trying to create new religions. We've gone, okay, that had its place. What can we learn from it and build new? And I think that's the mentality that's going to be required before we can access abundance, access our innate abilities, build a new way of thinking before you can build a new way of living. And we're doing it. I've seen it from all of you, and it's incredible. You know, we've let go of the old. We've moved on to a new way of thinking. We're just trying to figure out the nuts and bolts of it at this point.
I'm just trying to express it. That's my thing. It's like I've got it. It's like, how do I express this? You know, it's a challenge.
It's also the thing of using a compass in a world that no longer requires a compass. You know, there's some sort of you know, I actually think we've returned to a much more natural state, and a state that probably we've been, you know, coming back to time, which I don't really believe in, but let's pretend it exists. Let's just say that 10 million years of our lives were spent in this sort of more natural state, and the last X amount of years, 10,000 for humanity, have been in a very unnatural state. And actually, it's just this thing of sort of going, oh yeah, this is what life actually is, you know?
Yeah. It's like coming home in a way.
Absolutely.
It is. It is. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap it up. I think that's really, we're seeing that everywhere.
And by the way, Kirsten, we weren't trying to cut you off or not let you speak, but the entities out there, the digital gremlins, were doing a good job of that. So we were just filling in gaps, not talking over you. Just to be clear.
Yes, I know. They've really been messing with my internet today. I'll tell you what. We're dangerous.
Especially you, it seems.
All right. I am so grateful for all of you here. These seriously, some of my favorite people in the world. I love you guys. I am so grateful that you joined us today. I'm grateful for Nick for stepping up to co-host. I'm just grateful all around. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for everyone who tuned in. You're so welcome anytime.
It's been great fun. Yeah.
I know.
For sure.
I know Gary doesn't love it so much, but I love having him here anyway. I love you guys, and I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful for everyone who tuned in and listened to us. And thank you, Kathleen, for keeping the chat going, because that was really good. So look for Quantum Bridge, look for Alpine. Look below in the description if you want to see their channels. If you want a reading with me, also in the description. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. Sending you all love from all over the world. All right, here we go.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Al. Nice to see you all.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
See you guys. See you, Gary.